Today we are reading Chapter 10 from The Tiger Rising by Kate DiCamillo. And if you're following along with me on the PDF copy that I've provided for you, it starts on page 9. Rob was sweeping the laundry room when Willie Mae, the Kentucky Star housekeeper, came in and threw herself down in one of the metal chairs that were lined up against the cement block wall. "You know what?" she said to Rob. "No, ma'am," said Rob. "I'll tell you what," said Willie Mae, and she reached up and she adjusted the butterfly clip in her thick black hair. "I'd rather be sweeping up after some pigs in a barn than cleaning up after the people in this place. Pigs at least give you some respect." Rob leaned on his broom and he stared at Willie Mae. He liked looking at her. Her face was smooth and dark, like a beautiful piece of wood. And Rob liked to think that if he had been the one who'd carved Willie Mae, he would have made her just the way she was, with her long nose, high cheekbones, and slanted eyes. "What you staring at?" Willie Mae asked. Her eyes narrowed. "What you doing out of school?" Rob shrugged. "I don't know," he said. "What do you mean you don't know?" Rob shrugged again. "Don't be moving your shoulders up and down in front of me, acting like some skinny old bird trying to fly away. You want to end up cleaning motel rooms for a living?" Rob shook his head. "That's right. Ain't nobody wants this job. I'm the only fool Beauchamp can pay to do it. You got to stay in school," she said, "else you'll end up like me." And she shook her head and she reached into the pocket of her dress and pulled out a single cigarette and 2 sticks of 8-ball licorice gum. She put one piece of gum in her mouth and handed the other one to Rob, lit her cigarette, leaned back in the chair and closed her eyes. "Now," she said. The scent of smoke and licorice slowly filled the laundry room. "Go on and tell me why you ain't in school." "On account of my legs being all broke out," said Rob. Willie Mae opened her eyes and she looked over the top of her glasses at Rob's legs. She said after a minute. "How long you had that?" "About 6 months," said Rob. "I can tell you how to cure that," said Willie Mae, pointing with her cigarette at his legs. "I can tell you right now. Don't need to go to no doctor." "Huh?" said Rob. He stopped chewing his gum and he held his breath. What if Willie Mae healed him and then he had to go back to school? "Sadness," said Willie Mae, closing her eyes and nodding her head. "You keeping all that sadness down low in your legs. You not letting it get up to your heart where it belongs. You got to let that sadness rise on up." "Oh," said Rob, and he let his breath out. He was relieved. Willie Mae was wrong. She couldn't cure him. "The principal thinks it's contagious," he said. "Man ain't got no sense," Willie Mae said. "He's got a lot of certificates," Rob offered, "and they're all framed and hung up on his wall." "I bet he ain't got no certificate for sense," said Willie Mae darkly, and she rose up out of her chair and she stretched. "I got to clean some rooms," she said. "You ain't gonna forget what I told you about them legs, are you?" "No, ma'am," said Rob. "What'd I tell you then?" she said, towering over him. Willie Mae was tall, the tallest person Rob had ever seen. "To let that sadness rise," Rob said. And he repeated the words as if they were part of a poem. He gave them a certain rhythm, the same way Willie Mae had when she said them. "That's right," said Willie Mae. "You got to let that sadness rise on up." She left the room in a swirl of licorice and smoke. After she was gone, Rob wished that he had told her about the tiger. He felt a sudden, desperate need to tell somebody who wouldn't doubt him, somebody who was capable of believing in tigers. Okay, boys and girls, go ahead and stop and jot on your slide, please, and then return for chapter 11, and we'll continue. Thank you.